Oh, so I'm done with work for the weekend and basically on for a live stream. I've set the subscribers only mode on again this one. I can't remember the date I set, but it's one where, means you reduce the trolls on because you set it so people have to be sub for a couple of weeks to get on. So that means people can't keep making accounts, and as soon as they get blocked for spamming the chat with like racist shit or whatever, making new accounts are coming straight back on. So apologies to anybody who's a genuine person who hasn't been subscribed for too long, but after a while you'll obviously be on long enough to get on these. Right, I think the chat's broken as usual, so let me do pop-out chat. Here we go. So evening everybody. So a bit of an expensive week for me this week because I have bought a new graphics card. So I ended up getting a 3090 because it's a top-end card and it's the first time I've ever bought a top-end card. Right, Fuzzy? So basically I just went with the thing of, because there's a graphics card shortage anyway, and all you can get at the moment is the low-end and the highest-end stuff. Now the high-end cards are starting to turn up new again for just a little bit over their RRP. I thought I'll go for a top-end card and I won't need to, buy a graphics card in maybe like 3 to 5 years. Because when I bought this gaming PC, sort of video editing / gaming PC, the GPU in it wasn't a top-of-the-end GPU at the time of getting it. It's a fairly good GPU. It's an RX 5700. But I wanted to get something like a 3090 just because that's, a very good card in terms of overall performance. And it's one that I should be able to run like games at 4K 60 FPS, no issue. So it means I have to get a new screen as well, but 4K TVs now are actually affordable at like, what, £300 for a 40 to 50 inch one. So it means I can replace this screen with a similar size screen for 300 quid, which isn't too bad. So, yeah, like I said, I normally wouldn't spend like that much money because most of the time, yeah, that's the thing, Flazzy. But the good thing is with this card, within a year it will be generating profit because it has over 100 mega hash per second. Right, so over 100 mega hash per second mining speed. So it's equivalent to like 2 of my current GPUs running at the same time. So when I'm not playing games on it, I can run this card when it arrives, should come this week, with my RX 5700 and get about 150 plus mega hash a second on Ethereum. So it means basically my PC will pull in 5 to 10 quid a day on Ethereum mining. And it means my current GPU can run constantly in the background. So when I'm playing games, it's still going to be doing stuff. But, I use the PC every day, so it's one of those things I thought I'll probably make use of it and make YouTube videos maybe a bit faster to render as well. But yeah, the thing is with the bunkers is that obviously the problem is at the moment I've not seen any more listed. Sorry to hear that, Gorilla Panic. What have you got? If you don't mind sharing with us, but obviously you said you're in hospital, so you don't mind sharing. But yeah, that's because I've not seen any more listed in a while, Flazzy. I thought I might as well buy something that's like an investment, as in it will make me money within a year. And then that way I've at least got more going into the bunker fund once it starts breaking a profit per month than I would otherwise. So yeah, it's meant to be coming sort of mid next week. I then need to also find out if my power supply can manage to power both my GPUs. All right, Rich? Because the problem is that I think it pulls up to 300 watts, the 3090, and I'm on the 750 watt PSU. So it might mean I need to upgrade to a 1 kilowatt PSU. But we'll see. I'll basically just run some stress tests. As long as the PC doesn't crash out, we'll stick on the 750. Well, as I've said over and over again, Drunk Russian, until one... yeah, Daniel, but the thing is, as long as you've got a card with Ethereum at the moment, as long as you've not got a card that is really power and efficient, you're always making a profit. So, yeah, obviously, when you take power consumption away from it, you are going to obviously lose a bit more money in the long run. Well, not lose money because you're obviously still making a profit, but it's not as big a profit as it would be. But it's still going to be a profit. Like in terms of if I'm mining all day on this PC at the moment, or playing games on it. So if I'm running this PC 24/7 at the moment with my current setup, The entire house electricity cost for a day is about £1 or less. So it's, you know, this pulls in £3 to £5 of Ethereum per day, plus what, you know, XMR, the CPU mines, when I'm not, you know, using the CPU for much. So yeah, unless you're in a place where the electricity costs are stupidly high, you're always going to make a profit mining Ethereum, basically. It's only if you're on a really inefficient GPU for like hash rate, and that's why I specifically just went for a top-end GPU. So, you know, it's all right, because the problem is with the 3080 Titan is they've nerfed the hash rate on purpose, haven't they, to try and make it less appealing to miners. Yeah, that's the thing, Daniel. During this time of the year, that uses up more electricity than anything else. During the winter, I don't actually put the radiators on in this room, because during the winter, the PC will give out enough heat that it makes you nice and toasty. There is actually, interestingly now, a company that's making water heaters that use like mining hardware to act as the heat source. So basically you turn your mining heat source into your home's like heating, which is actually a pretty good idea. You know, it's just recycling more energy. Yes, all ionizing radiation, Cheeky, causes cell mutation. All radiation has a cancer risk. But beta rays are more likely to cause like skin cancer and things like that because of the fact they're not very penetrating. But bear in mind that if it's a strong enough beta source, like a Soviet strontium-90 RTG, radioisotope thermoelectric generator, that now and again cause deaths of people when they just turn up in the middle of nowhere. If you've got like a 500 Rontgen per hour beta source, it's going to cook your insides as well, just because it's energetic enough that it's going to pass through you. So I'd rather not warm myself, Daniel, with strontium-90 if that's okay with everybody, just because of the fact that, yes, although it would keep you warm, it would also shorten your lifespan by quite a lot. What's the website, Drunk Russian? But 850 is a bit too much. Like, I know MG42s have got like a big collector's appeal, but I wouldn't spend that, especially because Yugoslavian copies of the MG42 are sometimes like £400. But yeah. But yeah, like, so for example, with my strontium-90 sources, if you get a strontium-90 source out of like a DP5, those only, you know, go an inch or two, the radiation from it, because it's a relatively weak strontium-90 source. If you get the strontium-90 source out of a DP2, there are videos where people have quite hot ones that go 20 to 30 meters because of like how energetic the source is in terms of, you know, emissions. I think I know the site you're on about, Drunk Russian, but yeah. But so yeah, with beta radiation, the distance it travels and how penetrating it is will also depend on the activity of the source. And bear in mind, like, carbon-14 doesn't penetrate as well as strontium-90 does. They reversed a lot of it, Flazzy, within like a day or two. Because for about one day, you couldn't take your cash out on a debit card. And then they reversed that. Right, Stug, saying that, though, if you read up about the Georgians that died from the strontium-90 poisoning from an RTG... So, right, I'll go over what an RTG is. So, RTGs are fascinating. They're called radioisotope thermoelectric generators. They use them to power things like satellites, where you need something that provides energy for, like, decades. So, how they work is use the decay heat from a radioisotope like strontium-90 or cesium-137, and you have a battery that's a thermal battery. So, basically, heat gives energy to the battery. And RTGs are really good for things that don't need loads of electricity, like not very high voltage or, you know, amps, so not much current, but you need it to last decades without any maintenance because they're very simple. So the Soviets built loads of RTGs to power things like lighthouses, radio masts and things like that in remote areas, where the idea was that, you know, like every 30 to 50 years they might replace the source and they still work without anybody needing to maintain them. The problem was when the Soviet Union collapsed, they lost all records of where they were. Now and again, somebody thinks this looks like a good bit of scrap metal and picks up an RTG source. And the one in Georgia was roughly 500 Rontgen per hour, coming from a bit of strontium-90. And the woodsmen were like, oh, this is keeping us warm at night. So they used it as a pillow. A 500 Rontgen per hour piece of metal. Like, oh, why is this metal melting the snow around it? Oh, that's cool. Let's use it as a pillow. So one of them died. One of them had like horrible life, threatening illnesses from it. One bloke got away relatively okay who didn't sleep near it, but, was a few yards away. Right, Vladimir? We were just talking about the Soviet Union just before you came on. I was on about Russian RTGs. But yeah, but apparently it does cause issues where people find the RTGs now and again in the wilderness. They think they're scrap metal, and it kills them because of the fact that they're horribly radioactive. But unless you have a way of detecting radiation, you won't know. Obviously, if you find a bit of metal that's giving off heat for no apparent reason, you probably don't want to pick it up because it's, decay heat coming from the source. But yeah, so RTGs are really cool. They are a really good power source. I think NASA's latest Mars rover uses an RTG, doesn't it? Because I really like RTGs. They're a really cool idea, but the problem is you have to be very, very careful with them. But yes, the point is don't use strontium-90 as a pillow because it will cook you. The best recent gas mask I've got is probably that FMJ09/MF35, whatever you want to call it. But I mean, like something like the FM53 or FM54 is probably the best mask. That's all right, Flazzy. I think he was asking me what my favourite mask is, so I'll let him go on that. Yeah, because that was the thing, Vladimir. There was one in Georgia apparently where 3 Georgian woodsmen found like an RTG strontium-90 source that was roughly 500 Rontgen, like 4 sieverts an hour, kind of, basically an hour to 2 hours exposure would kill you. And they were like, oh, it melts the snow around it. This is cool. It'll keep us warm, while we sleep next to it at night. One of them died horrifically of like internal hemorrhaging of organs. Yeah, that's right, Fuzzy. Like I was saying, that is a similar thing, but yeah, obviously the best gas masks aren't the same as my favourite gas mask, because best gas masks mean like if I had loads of spare money to spend. But like FM53s and FM54s are definitely very good masks, but for most people you won't need something as good as that. What would be cool if they were easier to get is the modern Russian, what do they call them, Shum 2012s? The one that looks, it's basically like the voice diaphragm of a GP7 on a GP5M kind of thing. They're pretty cool, but I don't have one. I think Laserpoint Productions managed to get one, and he's like, oh, it's just like a GP5M, but better in every way. If you sent a YouTube link, Cheeky Antics, it won't show it annoyingly because you're not a mod. What was that, 230 Rontgen per hour, or the entire time they were in there, the dosimeter picked up 230 Rontgen, but either way, that's not good. But I mean, if you're inside reactor 4 and it's only 230 Rontgen per hour now, that's still like a lot lower than it was in 86. When you're looking at between 12 and 15,000 Rontgen per hour. Yeah, they're a cool mask, Doug. It's just that there was a while when you could get them, but they were quite expensive, so I never bothered, and now I've never seen them for sale again. All right, Brighto? But they're cool masks. Just I really like simple masks, like, the Shum style masks, like the GP5 type masks. It's just that, I'd rather have a modern one than an old one that's however old it is. James, the problem is I'm one of those channels that really doesn't care. I like America, But I would say there is a bit of a problem there in the sense that the War of Independence was mostly fought over tax, wasn't it? And now America pays more tax than Britain despite not having the healthcare and similar stuff. But, yeah. In terms of America and the Constitution, I'm a big fan of America, as you probably know from stuff like that if you've watched enough of my videos. There they are there in frame. 2 of those are live firearms. Oh, 3 of them are, because I got the Martini Henry down there as well. What's the game, Brighton? Rogan's, or like Joe Rogan's. But yeah. When I was doing all the X-ray pictures the other week, I probably did expose myself to more than 3.6 Rontgen. There is a bit of swelling on my arm there now. A bit worrying, but oh well. Yeah, no, that's the thing, James, is like I said, good on you for your independence from, England, because we're enough of a dumpster fire country now, Britain. But, the problem is I don't think in the long run it's really worked out, has it? You know, like you had the really strong, good America in like the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and then you've had the same problem we've had of decline, where your money just gets wasted by politicians and everything else. Yeah, we won't make this too political anyway, because like saying politics ruins a lot of these streams because people just argue with each other who normally get along. Rainbow Six Siege, yeah, there's some very strange masks in that, and I've not played it in years. So yeah, for the people who don't know, I'll link the mask I'm on about. Right, this is the mask I'm on about. Hang on, I need to pop out chat again because it's closed itself. There you go. It was good that England won. Obviously, the thing is, like I said, I'm not really a football fan, just in the sense that football is normally a bread and circuses thing, where what I really don't like is that there's people who don't give a shit about horrible stuff happening, in the news normally, but they'll get really upset about some sort of football scandal. It seems like your priorities are somewhere a bit wrong there. But, it's nice when England does well. Like, it'd been good if Scotland and Wales got a bit further in the tournament, the Euros, but like I said, hopefully England do well. It'd be nice if we won for ages, because they've not won sort of a big tournament in years, have they? But, it was good beating Germany, because Germany's obviously a really strong side. But we'll see if they win. They might not. But, like I said, it's one of the weird things where people seem to be happy at the moment just because we're kicking a ball about more efficiently than other European countries. I'll actually check that out, Cheeky. I know the one you're on about. I didn't realise the demo was out for that. Well, yeah, Paul, that's exactly my point. It's if you think about like doctors and lots of people or soldiers or whatever that you think are actually much more beneficial to the country. That's one of the things I really don't like football, because if you remember, there was a lot of bullshit happening recently, and then when there was all that thing about the European Super League or whatever it was, like the politicians would make statements on that within a day when they'd keep quiet about shit affecting people's lives and stuff like that. Well, that's the thing, Daniel. Like I said, it's in terms of what I'd rather England do, I would rather people have a better standard of living in this country than we beat a foreign country at kicking a ball around the pitch. Like, don't get me wrong. If we could have everything and be good at sports as well, that would be good. But it seems very, very odd to me when people prioritise sport over the actual standard of living of people in the country. Yeah, it's a shame, Adam. Like, I was hoping Scotland would do well, because my view with a lot of these sports are, if England doesn't do well, I want Scotland and Wales to do well. Like, same with rugby and stuff like that. But, hopefully next time. Is the Lions the rugby, Flazzy? What's the cricket team called? Or are they just a cricket team? Because the thing that was really annoying with the cricket thing was was it Ollie Robinson who'd done some like racist tweets? To be honest, he was a fucking idiot if he was like using racial slurs on the public profile. But the thing is, it's like the idea like, oh, you're a really good cricketer, but we're going to throw you under the bus because like you said something like decades ago, or whatever it was, that were offensive. And wasn't there somebody else they pulled up before they were even 18? Like shit they'd said online. Like, because that's the thing is like I said is I'm sure he's like suffered enough from the embarrassment of that, and I'm sure he's a different person now than when he wrote that years ago. But it's like the idea that the SJWs would rather throw somebody under a bus and like damage the national cricket team rather than But yeah, like I said, I'm not massively into football. It's one of those things. I've been watching the Euros a bit actually, just because because I work with quite a lot of different people from like other European countries when I'm at work. Like they obviously support their teams, like Italy or whatever else. It's quite good to chat with them. What does the Reform Party actually stand for, Adrian? Like I don't mind you bringing up politics if you want to talk about stuff like that. Because like obviously we had UKIP, didn't we? When and like then that turned into the Brexit Party when that was actually to do with leaving the EU. So is the Reform Party more about like free speech type stuff and everything like that? I mean, the media reaction to GB News has been pretty hilarious. But like, there's a news channel with like several black presenters on a gay presenter, and it's labelled far right. It's like, oh, what? Because it doesn't agree with your views. Yeah, well, exactly, Fuzzy. The thing I find really crazy with some of that stuff is when they're talking about stuff hundreds of years ago. It's, like I said, I don't want to turn the stream into a really depressing thing like that, but it's like because the thing is with me is the way I look at it, I'll try and explain it in like the simplest way possible. If the British Empire did stuff when I wasn't alive, I had no influence on politics. If it did good things, that's good. If it did bad things, that's bad. And there's no point in thinking highly of the bad things Britain did as an empire. But my granddad fought in World War II. He saw horrible shit during World War II. And he's had Germans since then apologize to him for like what the Nazis did during World War II. And he said, don't apologize because you weren't alive at the time, so you have nothing to apologize for. And it seems weird that there's people who's literally like, oh, you need to apologize for stuff your country did 300 years ago. So why? None of us were alive. What about Ireland? Does Northern Ireland actually play in the football or anything like that? I mean, I know the Republic does in a lot of things, but yeah, well, exactly, Paul, bro. The thing is, like, I always find funny in like the darkly funny sense is when people bring up how bad British colonialism is, and as much as Britain did do some bad things like the Opium War during the period of colonialism, get the Chinese hooked on drugs so we can buy tea cheaper, essentially. Look at what Leopold did in the Congo, the Belgians. It's like, you think Britain's bad. Wait till you look up, essentially the genocide of the Africans in the Congo that the Belgians did. And again, I don't think the Belgians should be blamed for that today because it was nothing to do with the modern Belgians. But, it's funny that the SJWs are very selective of what they bring up in this country. He died quite a while ago, didn't he, of alcoholism, Flazzy? Oh, the stream blooded me. Cheers. Yeah, I always forget to upvote streams. Oh, I forget to tell people, yeah, please like the stream. Because I like Mike's ones when he's streaming. But yeah, but again, like the whole thing is critical race theory, isn't it? And again, that's like a very, very kind of dodgy Marxist ideology. Again, if people weren't alive at the time and had no involvement in it, they should have no complicity in it. Like, the British government did horrible things in Northern Ireland as well. I wasn't alive, I wouldn't condone any of it. But, like I said, I don't want to turn this into a like horrible political stream, but anybody in any country, if stuff didn't happen in your lifetime, it's not the fault of those people. All right, Green. But yeah, happy 4th of July to you, Americans. Well, the thing is, Daniel, I don't know why they'd want statues of me. I think the best thing in terms of historical legacy is the people who have contributed the most in terms of like improving people's lives throughout history. So a bloke I like to always bring up with this is Röntgen, as in the radiation units named after. So Wilhelm Conrad Röntgen discovered X-rays in 1895 by accident. He won a Nobel Peace Prize for it. All the prize money he donated back to science for, the discovery of it, and he refused to patent X-rays and, X-ray technology because the whole point was it should be used by other people, to improve the lives of everybody. Like medical stuff shouldn't be for profit. And again, like, look at people like that came up with scientific discoveries that, refused to make a profit from it because the whole point was it should be for the betterment of mankind as opposed to, the people that do stuff like, oh, let's maximize profits and ruin everybody's lives. Oh, Daniel, Röntgen himself is a fucking great person. But yeah. Have you seen the video, Flazzy? I saw it today on YouTube where a bloke goes up to Downing Street and asks one of the armed police on the gate, is Matt Hancock allowed out? And he goes, oh, he's been a naughty boy, he's clearing his locker out. No, Mr. Deja Vu King, you have to explain what that is. I have not heard of this at all. But yeah, like, the thing is, I'd say the best people in history have been the people who've improved people's lives, you know, going on for centuries afterwards. I think I've heard of that, Adrian, but I don't think I've watched any of their videos. Like, I think I've heard other channels mention them. But yeah, like I said, if you're a scientist, the best thing you can do if you discover something is basically, like, you know, try and make enough money for it to cover your life, you know, to make your life good, but don't profiteer off of it. Because, you know, if you discover something that will improve people's lives, don't do the thing of, oh, I've discovered a cure for something, so I'm going to patent it and charge like $10,000 per tablet, like a lot of those American pharmaceuticals companies do. Like, so this is a good thing of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. It's done at cost, meaning it's like, what, $3 per vaccine? The problem is with the Pfizer and the Moderna, like $30 to $50 a vaccine, aren't they? Yeah, exactly, Brighto. It's the same thing. Lots of the pioneers in radiation were people of good moral standing. You know, it's that sort of thing, is if you come up with something that's for the betterment of mankind, don't hold the world back by, you know, keeping people away from it. But yeah, and again, Marie Curie worked a lot on Röntgen's theories because she did a lot of X-ray stuff herself. What did annoy me recently is I was watching a thing on the history of radiation. They said Marie Curie invented X-rays. I was like, no, she was just a pioneer in it. Like, Röntgen discovered them, and then lots of other people based their research upon Röntgen's. Because Becquerel, or whatever his name's pronounced, who discovered gamma rays, did basically the Röntgen X-ray experiment developing film just with uranium, didn't he? And that's how he discovered that uranium gives off gamma rays, because it would develop film like light does. Yeah, that's the thing, Flazzy. Yeah, again, if you come up with something like airbags or seatbelts, there's no point profiteering them and saying other people, because this is the reason I don't like Thomas Edison. Right, so basically, X-rays exist, but up until 1895, when Röntgen discovered them by accident with vacuum tubes, they didn't know they existed. But the problem is, what he could have done is he could have patented basically the type of vacuum tubes that created X-rays, and made it like, you know, you have to basically buy Röntgen tubes or whatever to do it. Because that's what Thomas Edison did. He'd get people to basically discover stuff for him and then patent it. Apparently, he tried to patent X-ray devices in America as well. But the whole point with the original stuff is basically freely publish the information when you discover it. Yep, and radiotherapy saves a lot of lives or prolongs people with terminal illness. Well, we were on about this for quite a bit earlier, Borna, but I think it's good England are doing well. I'm not really into football because it's quite a divisive thing. But, you know, it's nice England are doing well for once, you know, because they're normally a bit shit when it comes to football. I'll have to look that up, Mr. Deja Vu King. I've not heard about that at all. Exactly, Brighto. Again, he tried to patent a lot of Tesla's inventions. The joke I've heard is, if a Tesla car gets stolen, is it called an Edison? But yeah. Again, with good scientific discoveries, the people who discover them don't patent them, you know, don't restrict the information. They basically say, I've discovered this is how you do it, let's research it together. And, you know, because I still find it amazing that this picture is over 120 years old. Hang on. First X-ray. The one of Röntgen's wife's hand. Hang on a second. All right. I'm not a massive fan of the Daily Mail, but they've got the best one where I can find the image. So bear in mind, this is from 1895 or 1896, this picture. Don't know if you've missed anything really interesting today's remit. I've bought a new GPU the other day, which is very expensive, but, you know, should future-proof me for 3 to 5 years. I ended up getting an RTX 3090. Yeah, it's the one with the wedding ring, because the wedding ring casts the strongest shadow, because it's the densest bit, and you can see the bones and you can see the flesh causing shadows on it. Apparently it took 20 minutes to develop that picture. That's kind of scary, thinking of the amount of radiation you absorb if you were developing a picture like that over 20 minutes. Yeah, well, the thing that really annoys me, Rich, is my car is a very economic petrol car, or gasoline for the Americans, or most people, because technically it is gasoline. But the government decided recently that all petrol cars will have the same tax regardless, so they can make more money because they were getting too economical. £1,900 today's remit, and that isn't too bad at the moment. That's probably £300 at most over RRP. No, I'm going to use it to mine with, Snoz. My very old GPU I gave away to one of my mates. The 5700 is going to basically mine 24/7 now. Yeah, I suppose that's a good thing, Daniel, in some ways, isn't it? If something becomes so widespread, it can't be patented like that. Like today's remit, thankfully, it doesn't need to come out of the bunker fund, because I've not been buying much surplus over the recent bit of period, so I could have put more money into the bunker fund, but I've not seen any bunkers come up for sale recently at all. Yeah, that's why I went for it, Mr. Deja Vu King, because weirdly at the moment, because of obviously the GPU shortages, 3090s and the very low-end GPUs are coming back into stock now. Middle-tier GPUs are not. So a 3090, when they're in stock, is not too much more than the 3070 in the UK at the moment, because 3090s aren't bought a lot by miners because of the fact that they're not cost efficient as a mining card. You know, if you're mining, you'd look for the least power consumption, you know, for the hash rate and the lowest initial cost. Whereas the 3090, the reason I went for that is I've never bought a top end GPU before. So I thought I'll get a completely top end one. That way it will last me for years and I don't have to worry about running anything. Because I think even when I got this PC going back a couple of years ago, that was still when the GPU shortage had started by that point. So, you know, I couldn't get... When I got this PC, I think the 1080 was the best card available, not even the 1080 Titan. So I went for an RX 5700 just because they were much better in terms of price performance. But yeah, so I'll have to get a 4K screen as well for it, because I need to upgrade past 1080p now. But, you know, that would be good. I can render YouTube videos at least using an RTX 3090, I imagine, pretty quickly. And the idea is that it will be mining and making money every day that can go into the bunker fund, you know. Thank you very much, today's remit. I really appreciate that. He said 20 heavy British accent. Quick to whatever fund you deem viable. Keep it up. All right, cheers. I mean, that's like stereotypical, but cheers. Thank you very much. Because obviously, like I said, I did spend a lot of money the other day, but yeah, that's mostly just because, like I said, my current card's all right. It's getting a bit old, but you know, I'd rather just run it as a mining card constantly now if I'm not using it for gaming anymore. All right, cheeky antics. Have a good evening. But yeah, so the 3090 should be really good at least, because I'm still, bear in mind, I still play most things at 1080p because I've got a 1080p monitor. So what I'm looking to do is obviously with the 3090 play everything on 4K essentially, get a 4K thing, you know, and then when I'm not using it on games, I can underclock it slightly and mine with it, and then when I am playing games with it, just play games with it. But I was sort of thinking about getting a PS5 a while ago, and then they were just never in stock. And I'm assuming that was the same chip shortage that was causing a problem that, you know, caused a GPU shortage. But I've got more use for a PC because, like I said, PC is used for video editing and everything else. And I think my logic was basically, if I'm going to be spending a load of money, I might as well get the very top end thing and then not regret later on wishing I'd paid a bit more and getting a better card, because that's always the problem I've had when I've bought slightly cheaper cards. Because, you know, when you go for a mid-tier card, you're still paying quite a bit of money, but then you're going, oh, but I wish the performance was slightly better in this. Where if you go for a top end card, you basically, that's the best performance you're going to get full stop. But yeah, it's probably going to be cheaper soon, isn't it? Or still buying entire PCs as like pre-builts because of the chip shortage. Yeah, the two games I would definitely play on it, Stug, are that Dreams one that Mike's been playing a lot. I'm assuming you can get Bloodborne on PS5, can't you? Or backwards compatible play Bloodborne. And what was the other thing? The Dark Souls remake. Yeah, that's the thing I really like to look at is that AI upscaling. It's crazy, isn't it? Because one of my friends has one of the older RTX cards, and I think he plays games in something like 480p, then upscales them to 4K, and it like looks surprisingly good. You know, like the AI upscaling thing. Isn't that Brighton based a lot on the stuff people watch on TV and like YouTube? Because apparently that's the thing that used to influence how English language like speakers sounded in various countries if that wasn't their first language, like when they watched a lot of TV. And if they watched more American programs than British programs. Yeah, hopefully, Rich, they might turn out fairly cheap at some point. Like with the graphics card, I bought a new one just in the sense that the problem is I would not want to buy a second-hand GPU at the moment in case somebody's absolutely trashed one. Because if you go back a few years ago, buying a second-hand GPU might be all right because, you know, it's only really been used for gaming. If somebody's overclocked a GPU, then run it mining 24/7 for like a year. It's going to be fucking trashed, isn't it? In terms of like going to cause a lot of video crashes and that because of just cooked hardware. So yeah, I've just gone for a brand new 3090 and M4. Fuck it, you know, I'll enjoy it. And like I said, when it's not in use, it can mine, and then that Ethereum money can go into the bunker money because there's not been any bunkers listed recently. So what's interesting in the news, if there's not anything too awful in the news? I've not really looked at the news today. I've been working. Oh, masks will become personal choice. So basically, if you want to wear a mask, wear a proper respirator. If you don't want to wear a mask, don't bother when they change the rules. That's fine. The Pope's gone to a hospital for surgery. I guess Jerry Jackson maybe threw him in the crushy bin. There was a landslide in Japan. Didn't even know about that. A load of stuff about the football, but that's yesterday's news. And a load of clickbait shit that isn't really news. The BBC peddles there. As in hard disk drives or flash drives, Daniel. Yeah, I've not really followed the whole thing with Chia, but was that the thing that used like hard disk space or something as like its proof of work or proof of efficiency or whatever it was called? Because I know that caused a bit of a HDD shortage, didn't it? But well, at the moment, I'm back to work. I'm back to seeing people and all that. It doesn't really bother me too much. There's not going to be much difference to me. I think the main thing would not be being forced to wear a shit cloth mask, you know, in certain places, you know, if you don't need one. Because, like I said, I'm double vaccinated now. So, in all honesty, unless I'm going to be somewhere where there's going to be loads and loads of people around, I just wouldn't bother wearing a mask. Oh, that's interesting, Brighton. Oh, yeah, I think I heard a bit about that poll, bro, on, like, the LBC stuff when I was at work. It was only, like, you know, brought up in passing when they were talking about other stuff. And for the person saying, do I lift? Right. I've got some weights down there, as in, like, dumbbells. I've got a barbell somewhere that's not been used in ages. So in terms of, like, do I lift? Yes, I've got weights. Do I reliably and routinely do exercise weights? No, I'm a pretty lazy bastard. So, basically, it's do I do physical sort of stuff now and again? Yes. Do I do it reliably? No. I'm pretty active in terms of like doing stuff like dog walking for quite a few miles per week while, you know, wearing like webbing belts with loads of shit on me, as in like doggy poo bags, water bottles for the dogs, you know, dog treats and all that stuff. No, I don't want to buy your SK1 helmet. Thanks for the offer, but like I said, at the moment, I'm not buying any milsurp type stuff because I'm trying to recoup my funds. Yeah, there was a hard disk shortage, wasn't there, a while ago, Daniel, and that was caused by flooding in Vietnam or somewhere, I think it was, where all the places they manufactured the hard disks flooded. Where did I get what, Paul, bro? Or are you talking to somebody else? But in all honesty, I find that stuff like this is actually probably better for trainings in some ways, for like physical exercise and weights, because it's hard to explain, but it's a different kind of like muscle you build up. Like it's a lot more forearm based, I guess. With I know there's certain curls you can do with but also bear in mind most of the jobs I've ever done have been blue collar jobs because I'm not particularly qualified, and I prefer working jobs where I'm physically active and keeping my mind busy than something sat at a desk. But yeah, because I'm definitely somebody who, like, in terms of exercise, I definitely enjoy doing outdoor stuff a lot more, as in having a load of gear on and going for a long walk as opposed to just simply lifting weights. So I just get bored quite easily doing that. Yeah, I'd be careful for people joking about stuff like that, Brighton, because that's probably conspiracy to do something with today's stuff. Well, that's the thing, Flazzy. If you're carrying a rifle around and some gear with you in the outdoors, that's going to build up good practical muscle, isn't it? Yeah, especially for something like a barbell or a dumbbell, Rich, because, again, if you're just doing weights as in, like, a vest type thing, you could certainly just rig something up, couldn't you, to simulate a lot of weight. I was in a lot of weight, but, not using cast iron plates or whatever. Because I know for a fact if I sling the Bren gun over my back and walk a couple of miles, because I've done that before, had the deactivation certificate on me, was visiting a friend, but I had the Bren gun in a gun bag, and I was walking down the road, and I walked about 1.5 miles, and fuck me, the Bren gun really makes you appreciate your leg muscles after a while when you're carrying that. Even if it's across your shoulders, it's about 12 kilos or something, I'd probably imagine, the full Bren gun kit in the bag. For doing that, Flazzy, I'd be all right. In all honesty, in my area, you sometimes see quite a few people carrying around like shotgun bags, just because there's a couple of like farm areas near me where people like shoot rabbits and birds and that on there. Ah, that makes a lot of sense, Casey. I guess with lockdown. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Right, the Nixie tubes. Those are Nixie tubes. If the wire is not caught on anything, there you go. So if you go on AliExpress, Hype sent me this as a gift, but if you go on AliExpress, I think you can buy these basic kits for $40, and it's basically an LED and Nixie tube set with a digital controller on it. Just powers via USB. There's somebody in my area, Flazzy, who quite regularly walks down the road with a gun on him. And one of my mates was quite worried about walking around with his air rifle on him in the gun bag. And he phoned up the local police station. And I'm like, oh, that's fine. Don't wave at anybody. They at least seem quite good in my area about that. But I guess that's because they know that most people in a rural area with a proper gun slip on their back are probably not asking for trouble. Like most of the gun crime we have in our area, people, pulling pistols on cashiers and shops, not somebody walking about with a gun sling on their back. Yeah, that's the thing, Fuzzy. I wouldn't carry the Bren gun on my back, as the Bren gun. I do that on private property, but yeah, it was in a proper gun bag, and I had the deactivation certificate on me as well. Yeah, that'd be good, Brighton. Like I said, if you can set something like that up and you enjoy it, that'd be good. Because like Mike's got a very basic workshop in his garage, and Mike makes like quite a bit like things like crossbow bolt heads and stuff like that. Like the thing, if you're skilled in a way and you enjoy doing it, it's a good thing to do. Because like my granddad has an old garage that's full of tools and stuff. Because he was a very practical bloke. So that was back in the day when you had to kind of know how to do everything yourself, which is kind of really different from today's thinking. But a lot of old people back, we're talking about just people my granddad's age. If something is broken, they repair it themselves. There was none of this, easily replaced or, money to spare to replace it. So it was the make, do, and mend thing where, their garage would be full of tools and, everything that they do would be home painted, home built. That's annoying, Brighto. I don't think anything's using my internet up. Let me just double check. It might just be them, Brighto, at your end. But yeah, I don't think anything's downloaded. No, not on Steam in the last hour or so. So it's not Steam doing it. I won't be on too much longer. I haven't actually had the internet crash out at all since getting that router. So that at least seems to have been working fine. It seems that once the engineer came and repaired the fault in the wall line and I switched away from the ship BT hub, it seems that the internet's been totally fine now. But yeah, like those particular bits, I think they might actually be neon tubes actually saying that. Because if you look, one of them's dimmer than the other one. I'm pretty certain that is little tubes there rather than bulbs. Or is it? At some point I have to figure out how to take the housing off around here. Probably just uses the Allen keys, doesn't it, to take the back cover off, and then which is that loose enough that I can undo them by hand? Oh, I think it is. Okay, let's take it off. Yeah. All right, Craig. Yeah, I mean, I'm shit at doing stuff like that, Rich. I'd personally not do it myself, but yeah, if Brighter wants to get into it, good on him. But I'm the sort of person that would let other people do that for me. Let's get this off and have a look at what's inside it. Because yeah, these are undoing by hand actually. So let's have a look. That looks like it is a tube, Vladimir. It looks like the middle ones are actually tubes. Don't know how well it's going to focus. You notice one of them's dimmer than the other one. I don't know if it actually shows up on webcam. But that one is quite a bit dimmer than the other one, the top one. Yeah, definitely looks like little tubes. I was going to say if I unplug it, but then if I unplug it, I have to reset the time on it. But yeah, I can probably see that they're tubes there. But yeah, they're just two little neons. Yeah, these are quite cool for what they are. I'll probably leave that little bit off now because that's not going to affect its performance at all, having the top bit off. But it's quite handy if people want to see the inside of the thing. But yeah, I'm pretty sure these are all old Soviet tubes, though, saying that, Vladimir. That although it's a Chinese thing, I think all the old tubes are old Soviet tubes. Which I suppose makes sense because of how many of them were sitting in warehouses. It just amazes me what some people charge for stuff like that if they've just put a custom housing on it. Because again, I could just literally take all the things out, put this in, an old Geiger counter type thing, and then be like, oh, I'll sell it you for 400 quid, and people pay that. Which counter was it, Craig? I can't remember which one I recommended to you. Was it the 701A, the Radioscan? All right, Nightstug, if you're off, I'll be off in a few minutes. But was it the Radioscan 701, the one I recommended? All right, okay, Vladimir. I'll do that after the stream. But yeah, because it'll step it up, won't it? Yeah, like a Geiger counter does. I've shot myself on Geigers quite a few times. But yeah, also because I don't want dirt getting in it. Uh, I don't know, Brighton, because you can get like teenagers working at quite a young age, but they get shafted on like their hourly rate. As in, they could be doing the exact same job as an adult, but they'd be getting paid a lot less. Most people in the workplace are like 17, 18 plus. Yeah, the 701A is very good, isn't it? For just like an overall all-round Geiger counter. So 16 is, I think. Like I said, most of the people I've worked with have always been 17 or older. Yeah, I do know from some jobs that like under 18 is one wage bracket, 18 to 21 is one wage bracket, over 21 is another wage bracket. They've changed that a couple of times, Flazzy, because when I was at school, you could leave at 16, and I did a year of sixth form, hated it, did the exams, and then got a job. But I know people now that have to stay in college or school or whatever till 18, but I don't know if they've changed that again, because that was a thing a couple of years after I left. But like I said, I think it's a bit stupid, because if you're somebody who just doesn't enjoy school and wants to get a job, you should be allowed to get a job. Because I know people like that, people that have a good work ethic, they just couldn't get on in school. You know, they weren't very good at formal education, but they knew what sort of job they wanted to do and they'd do it. Because there's somebody who used to live near me that does a lot of manual labour type stuff, and he was like that he wasn't dumb, but he just couldn't get on in school. And then, you know, as soon as he left school at 16 or whatever, he immediately got quite a good job just doing building type stuff. But, you know. Yeah, I'm on £10 an hour, Paul, bro. I think that's because they revised the minimum wage again, didn't they, recently? But yeah, when I first started working around 18, I think I was on £6.50 something an hour. But this is going back to 2011, 2012, 2011. Obviously, inflation goes up as well, so your wages aren't really going up that much. Yeah, it's probably different in Scotland, Wales, and England, and Northern Ireland, and all the things, Fuzzy, but yeah. But again, I know they've changed it over and over again and stuff like that, but my opinion is if you've got something to do, let the person do it if they'd rather do that. Like, the amount of people I know that went to uni, have a degree they can't even use, and are like 30 grand in debt, it's a fucking joke. Like, the people I know who have done the best are the people that were considered dumb kids. They got a trade job, and now we're like plumbers, electricians, whatever, and they're making a lot more money than everybody else. You're in school in England, were you, Fuzzy? Yeah, like I said, I'm thinking about 2010, 2011 time when I left school. So that's that. But yeah, out of all my mates, the one who did a very basic college engineering job makes the most money now. So, but yeah. Anyway, good night, everybody. Yeah, I'll be off now because, like I said, we talked about quite a bit, haven't we? And I'm already quite tired because long hours again at work this weekend. It's about 2 years after me, I think, Flazzy. Again, I think I finished regular school in 2010, but then I was in sixth form for about a year, so that'd been about 2011. Yeah, because it was 2011 I turned 18, so yeah, that would be about right, I think. Anyway, because I know they've revised the driving age a few times, haven't they, as well, where it was like 17, 18, now it might be 21, I'm not sure. Anyway, have a good evening, everybody, and I'll probably do a members stream. Oh, actually, saying that, tomorrow night I've got a meeting I have to go to. So I might get a chance to do a members stream tomorrow night. I might not. It depends how long I'm at that meeting. But if not, I'll do on Tuesday. But thank you very much for the £20 donation as well to today's remit. I really appreciate that. So thank you very much. Have a good evening. And yeah, I'll probably have an early night tonight, I think. Yeah, sounds like you won out there, Flazzy, compared to people who paid a load of money to do a uni degree and now have a useless degree and nobody wants to hire them. Right, have a good evening, everyone.